Hello everyone and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Today I thought I'd start off some Christmas recipes by doing my grandma's homemade sugar cookies. I wasn't going to do these because I didn't know if I should let everyone know her recipe because they are near and dear to my family's hearts, but I mean, I just want to share with everybody how amazing these cookies are. They're also very nostalgic. I'm not like you guys know, all my videos, my past video is a cookie video, but I'm not a big cookie person, so I wasn't that big on these growing up, but like my cousins and my aunts and uncles, my parents, I mean, they love these things. I'm doubling the batch. I'm doing 2 different batches, so I will post the recipe for one batch down below. You can go ahead and take a look at those, or take a look at that. But yeah, I'm doubling everything today, so it might seem like a lot, but it's just better to double it than to do it 2 different days. I mean, it's not that I don't love baking. I do love baking, but these sugar cookies, they are a lot of work. So I'm going to get started today. So I'm going to start first with the dry ingredients because it is the easiest to do. And so I'll put that in a separate bowl, and it's 2.5 cups of flour, so I'm gonna do 5 cups of flour. Make sure you're leveling off all your cups. 5. Literally, flour's already everywhere. And then half a teaspoon of baking soda, so we'll do 1 teaspoon. Scout's like, who are you talking to? And then also half a teaspoon of salt, so we'll do half a teaspoon of salt, so we'll do 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I just mix it with a fork to just get it nice incorporated, the baking soda and the salt incorporated with the flour. So I put this aside and then start on the wet ingredient. So I'm gonna start with, it's a half a cup of butter. So I'm gonna do 1 cup of butter, and I'm just gonna melt it because that's just how I've been doing it. I don't have a mixer, like a stand mixer, and that's what I would use with this cookie dough, just because it gets thick, like thick with 2 C's. So my hand mixer it's not up to par with it, and so I have to melt the butter because it just, like, what's the point? And it still turns out like really good, and I'm feeling like Grandma did that too, but I don't know. I mean, she had a stand mixer, so. Okay, so while the butter is cooling down, I'm going to it has for 1 egg well beaten, and so it's 2 eggs. So I'll put that in the bowl and beat them before I put the butter and the sugar in. And then it calls for 1 cup of sugar, so we'll do 2 cups. 2. And then the 1 cup of butter. And then, so I'm going to mix the egg, the sugar, and the butter all together. And then it calls for 1 cup of, it says heavy sour cream. So I think that just means don't get the light sour cream. Tell me if I'm wrong. So I'm going to add that in, and then I actually get so I'm going to do 2 cups. But instead of getting like the big sour cream measuring out 2 cups, I actually get the cups by themselves because I found if you just get the 2-cup one, so the 16-ounce one, there isn't actually 16 ounces in there. There isn't actually 2 cups in there. They're lying. So I just get the 1 cup, or the 8 ounces, and I just pour them both in. Works for me. And as you can tell, I said these are sugar cookies, and since I'm putting sour cream in them, you know they're gonna be the fluffy sugar cookies. I seem to have lost my fork, and I'm wondering if it's in the batter. It's in the batter. we'll do 2 teaspoons of vanilla. There's 2. And then once that gets incorporated, now we add the dry ingredients. So add half the dry ingredients, or maybe more than half, and get that best incorporated. I'm already tired. Okay, and then we add the other half. And actually, my mom told me a story growing up that grandma would actually, oh, I got flour. That grandma, she would mix this, and then once it gets to this point, because it is, I'm already tired. Once it gets to this point, she would grab like a wooden spoon or a spoon and then go give it to grandpa while he's watching his westerns or whatever he was watching, and he would just sit there and mix it with his spoon. Well, I don't have anyone here to help me, so low and slow it is. Here, I can kind of show you guys what it's looking like. It's pretty well incorporated. So now I take like a spatula and I try to form a ball with it. So I kind of just gather it all up because it is so sticky right now. But I try to form a ball, like a big ball, and just run around the sides to make sure I got everything. And cover it and put it in the fridge or outside or wherever you want to chill it for at least an hour. And then I'll come back and show you guys how I roll it out. Okay, so as you can see, it's an entirely different day. After I made the cookies, I just couldn't find the momentum, the ambition, couldn't find the drive to want to finish the cookies. So we're gonna do them today, the next day. And as you can see from behind me, we're in the middle of a blizzard. I really wanted some coffee today, but that's not gonna happen. Yeah, so we're gonna work with what we have. We're gonna start rolling the cookie dough out and putting in the oven. I set the oven temperature at 375, and they will usually bake at about probably 10 to 12 minutes. Make sure you're baking them on a light cookie sheet. You don't want those dark ones. Those are more for cooking like fries and chicken nuggets and whatever, but make sure it's light because you don't want to burn the cookies. You can push parchment paper on, but these will not stick to the pan at all. Yes, you'll have to wash the pan. So I guess if you don't want to wash the pan, you can use parchment paper, but I've never done that and that kind of freaks me out, but I don't see the harm in it. But yeah, I would just use the light sheet and they won't stick whatsoever. I think if I remember right, it said to roll to like it said to roll to like a certain inch, or like, you know, like a quarter of an inch or half an inch or whatever, and I can't remember. I always go by, because this is my recipe that or my mom wrote down, but it's not my it's not my grandma's actual recipe. Scout, I'm not playing with you right now. This is his 3rd time. He knocks on the window. I go and let him out and he stands there. He doesn't want to go out because it's a blizzard outside. I always just go by my eyesight to see how thick it should be. But yeah, we'll get started. So I'm going to flour the countertop. You can do a countertop, or I think people do cutting boards sometimes too. But I like the countertop because it's a lot more room. So I just flour. First time I made this with my mom, like the first time we ever tried making this without grandma, it was a disaster. We didn't know like we needed to flour this or how much flour to use. Like we didn't put enough flour on the countertop. It got stuck to the countertop. Now for the dough. So I like to flour the top of the dough because when you reach in there, it's just gonna get stuck to your hands. So I flour the top of this, and then I kind of just reach in and grab a nice big scoop with my hands. And it's cold, so it's hard. Ugh. Okay, and then before I go any further, because it's just going to get stuck to my hands, which it kind of already has, I take it and I flour both sides generously. And then I kind of squish it with my hands to kind of get something formed. before I start rolling it. Now this is just how I do it. I don't know if there's a certain way people like to do this, but this is just how I do it. Okay, and then I flour what's going to be the bottom. Nice and floured. I plop it down, I flour the top. Like I said, a lot of flour. And then I take my rolling pin and I flour that. And then we start rolling. And like with this, it doesn't matter. Oh, see, I got something stuck and it kind of lifted up. So I'm gonna go ahead and flour the top again. And then flip it. Got it stuck right there. So I'm gonna flip it. And see, this is getting a little stuck there too. And with this, it doesn't matter if cracks form. You know, just keep rolling, and the dough that you get is the dough that you get, and you can just reuse the dough till all good. So this is kind of where I want it to be. So I'm gonna take the wine glass and I'm gonna flour the top of it just so it doesn't get stuck. And then turn, and there we go. Here's one. Kind of small, but maybe I'll use the other one. But here's what it's gonna look like. And that's the thickness I kind of like. So I don't know, what is that? I'm pretty sure the recipe said 1/4 to 1/2 inch for thickness. But this is kind of like what I like, and it should puff up. If it doesn't puff up, then something went wrong in the recipe. So, and I pop it on a bake sheet. If there is too much flour on this, it won't bake right, so I do try to dust it off as much as I can. See, and this one got a little thicker, and that's what also sucks about this, because they will bake differently. This one got a little bit thicker, as you can see. So it probably will bake a little differently, but hopefully it's not too bad. I'll put it in for about 10 minutes and then take a look at it. Mostly you want to be looking at the bottom, because the top is just going to stay, you want it to stay light at the top. You don't want it turning brown. Once it turns brown, you've overdid it. But the bottom, you want like not brown, but like not white. I'll show you guys here when I take them out, when I'm all done, what it looks like. Because obviously that wasn't helpful. So then I usually take this dough and I just pile it up and I put it in the corner because I will be reusing it. So then I re-flour my countertop here, and then I get started on the next one. I'm going to put my other ones in for about 10-12 minutes and see how they turn out. So, okay, so I finished baking all the cookies, and it came out to around, I got 92 out of the batch. But here's how they turned out. Nice and fluffy. So yeah, I'm gonna start frosting them now. So with the frosting comes some criticism, I think is the word to say. It does have raw egg yolk in it. So the recipe calls for 1 raw egg yolk, no whites, just the egg yolk. And then 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar, and then 1/4 of a cup of butter. And usually that only frosts maybe like 15 to 20 cookies. So I'm going to do 4 batches with 2 different colors. My grandma always did green and pink. I think it's just because she used red and it never turned really into red, but that's growing up, that's how everyone remembers them, is the green and pink cookies. So we'll be doing green and pink for the frosting. Just a fair warning with the egg yolk. My grandma has made this her entire life. I've made it for like 5-6 years now. 7? I don't even know. No one has ever gotten sick off of them. The eggs have to be pasteurized. So I guess if you're using them straight from the farm, straight from the chickens, I would maybe hold off on using those. I maybe wouldn't use those. Make sure you pasteurize them on your own or buy them from a grocery store, because all of them from the grocery store are pasteurized, and what that means is that they heat up the eggs so it kills the bacteria in them. And then also if you keep them at the right temperature, so make sure your eggs are staying in the fridge, that way the bacteria can't grow and they die. So with these cookies have to be kept in the fridge because of that, or in the freezer. And my cousins, a lot of my relatives like to eat the frozen cookies, which is, I mean, it's still really good. They're still fluffy. They're still great. You can make this without the egg yolk. It would just be butter and powdered sugar, which is totally fine. But the egg yolk, it makes it good. It really does. You can look at it. It makes it good. It binds everything together and makes it so smooth. It's so good. There is no vanilla extract that goes in these. There's no almond extract, because I love almond extract. There's no of that flavor that goes in these. If you want to, you could probably add maybe like a quarter of a teaspoon of vanilla, but I wouldn't. That's not what the recipe says to do, so that's not what I'm doing. So I'm separating the eggs right now, or I'm separating the yolk right now. I do it the old-fashioned way. I think it's a lot easier than whatever. Plop it in the bowl. Ooh, this one's not good. Let's see if I can get this one. That was pretty good. Put that aside, and then I have half a cup of melted butter. So then I just added the butter. I want to keep whisking it to get it nice and incorporated. It is melted butter. Perfect. And then I'm going to add the powdered sugar. So it does call for 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. I always use more. I think I use over a cup every time, because I like it gets powdered sugar makes it thicker and also makes it sweeter. And so I put a little bit more in there to make it nice and thick. But to each their own. That's like a cup and a half. Okay, it's kind of coming to the consistency I want here. I don't want it too runny. That's a little too runny for me, so a little bit more powdered sugar. Still a little too runny. Sometimes I'll take like a knife, because this is how we frost the cookies, and so I'll take a knife and just see what the consistency is. It's like perfect. See? I don't know if this will. Now I add the food coloring. So I have green here. Here's the green. And that's like the consistency we want. Look how smooth that is. Like, oh. So I'll frost the cookie and then I'll show you guys here, and I'll do a taste test. So I like to frost them with a knife. I like to get it nice and perfect, so. There's actually a knife at home I prefer to use, because it doesn't have the serrated edges on it, and so it comes out a lot more smoother. Well, this one, you know, it's not that great. I miss the knife at home, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, these are her cookies. Again, they're best eaten frozen, but I'll do a little taste test. Watch it like not turn out, but yeah, they're best eaten frozen or cold, but they're good. Look, nice and fluffy. I haven't been able to see my family because of, you know, COVID and everything. Like, I wasn't able to see them for Thanksgiving, and I won't be able to see them here on Christmas, but I will see him on New Year's. So I'm going to try to give him a lot of these cookies because they like these cookies. That was good stuff. Thank you for coming back to watch this. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I'm happy to share this very nostalgic recipe with you guys. It's near and dear to my heart and to my family's hearts, especially on the holidays. So I'm happy I could share it all with you guys. So yeah, thank you and enjoy the rest of your holidays, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and thanks for watching. Bye.